Welcome, everybody. Northwestern has decided to fire head football coach Pat Fitzgerald after an investigation into the program due to hazing. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to take a look at 5 potential replacements for Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. So, as mentioned, Northwestern is looking for a new football coach. They do have an interim head coach in the meantime, but they fired Pat Fitzgerald. The timing of it isn't ideal for head football coaching changes. Usually those happen, December before bowl games, even as late as January sometimes. But this is just a unique situation, and Northwestern has a lot of things to figure out in terms of rebuilding the culture of their program and everything else. So with the weird timing, the fact that Northwestern has some academic standards to worry about and little good football history to build on in terms of some of the other schools they're going up against in the Big Ten. And just the nature of where the program stands, this is a unique coaching search. I think they're probably going to wait a year and then hire someone after this season, maybe in December. But if they're going to hire someone now, here's some guys who can come in right away. Maybe they can lure out of their coaching jobs or just lure into the school to coach right now, because it is such a unique situation. But we also have people like Andy Staples from On3 saying that this is a desirable job because it's the Big Ten and they're going to make a lot more money down the road. So you might know this is a job you're signing up for to make some money in the short term, but it's going to be hard to stay there and sustain that success like Pat Fitzgerald has done up until the last couple of years in terms of on-the-field play. But that's what makes this unique. So we're going to look at some guys maybe they can get as the next head coach, assuming they do it right now. This list might change by the time the end of this year happens if they decided to stick with an interim coach for this season. Then maybe we have some new hot coaching candidates who are ready to take that next step. It's also going to be interesting to see, with the way the money's spread out, do coaches need to maybe make the stepping stone from, going from maybe like a MAC school to a Big 12 school and then to a Big 10 or SEC school. That's something we don't know. The college football is going to change with it to see how it changes based on these TV contracts. So let's get it started. We're going to start off with David Shaw. Shaw coached Stanford for 12 seasons. He resigned last season. He posted a record of 96-54, made 3 Rose Bowls, had 5 seasons with over 10 wins. Unfortunately, things kind of fell off in the last couple of years, and that's why he resigned. Stanford won 14 games over the last 4 seasons. 2020 was shortened to 6 games, but that's still not great, and he decided to resign. Looks like he still has some football coaching in him. The reason why he's a candidate here is because Northwestern has some academic standards. Standards has some academic standards. I think David Shaw could be a good culture fit, changing the culture. I don't think Northwestern's going to want to go someone connected to the program over the last several seasons. I think some of the former players that have been listed that have played under Pat Fitzgerald might be guys I don't think you can consider given the circumstances of the firing. I think even some of the assistant coaches, we just don't know how much they may have knew about the hazing. I'm sure that'll all be figured out when Pat Fitzgerald probably sues the university just because he's claiming he didn't know anything about it. So, the reason I like it, though, he can fit the academic requirements. I think he can help change the culture. He did start very well at Stanford. I think he can maybe build this culture up. And I think he's available, too, which is important because if you're going to hire someone now, he's got to be available or willing to leave their current job right before a season. And they've already had spring ball. It's just not the most ideal time to take the job. So David Shaw would be a guy you could hire right now. Jason Candle out of Toledo. Coached for 8 seasons. He joined on at Toledo after Matt Campbell. 54-32 with 6 bowl appearances. He won the MAC title last season. 11-win season in 2017. I think he'll likely have more offers if he waits until after the season if the success continues, which it looks like Toledo will be pretty good in the MAC again this year. But if he wants a job right now, or if he wants to secure a job in the Big Ten because of the money it's going to provide down the road with these big TV contracts, he could do it. I mean, he could leave right now. He knows it's maybe like a little bit of a dumpster fire right now, so he's going to have a lot of time to turn it around. There will be some I guess, the idea that he has a lot of work to do, so he may not have to turn around year 1, 2, 3 maybe. And then he just gets to build his own program. He also has experience in the Midwest. He played college football in Ohio, I believe. He's coached a lot in Ohio. And I think because Northwestern recruits a lot of Ohio players and he has all these Midwest ties, I think that could really help him as Northwestern head coach. So I think he's a guy you can maybe get now because if you don't get him now, after the season, he might be going to a school that he finds is a better fit or bigger or maybe in a better position than Northwestern currently is after this investigation. Jesse Minter is next up on the list. Minter is Michigan's defensive coordinator, helped them rank 8th nationally again in scoring last season. Before joining Michigan, assistant at Vanderbilt, Georgia State, Indiana State. He worked in the NFL with the Ravens, was also an intern for Notre Dame, and as a graduate assistant for Cincinnati. So he's got all these ties, a lot of them around the Midwest. He also played college football at Mount St. Joseph, which is right around the Cincinnati area. I think that, those recruiting ties he's built at Michigan, while Michigan does recruit more nationally, and they do have a lot of players they try to get from Ohio and around the surrounding areas, I think that really is important to this job. They're going to need to hit these states very hard to recruit in the next couple of years, especially if they don't have much talent. If some of these guys leave in the transfer portal and they need to get more guys in, I mean, you're going to have to recruit these states hard. So I think that the Midwestern ties means something. The experience coaching in the Big Ten, albeit not a head coaching experience, but as defensive coordinator helps. And I think he could be a good fit if you wanted to get him right now. So Minter, a couple of years, maybe he has some bigger job offers to be a head coach of bigger schools. But again, we don't know how much the Big Ten is going to be a lure. Maybe he wants to go to Big Ten right away to stay with the money the conference is getting, and maybe he just wants to get a head coaching job now rather than wait a couple more years. So that's why I think you maybe check in on him. Don't know if it's exactly likely he leaves, especially given that Michigan's, projected to go to their 3rd straight college football playoff. So that's something you have to take in mind too. All right, Colin Klein. Colin Klein played his college football at Kansas State. A lot of people might remember him from his playing days because he was almost a Heisman winner with Kansas State and Bill Snyder's second stint there. He's been an assistant for the team for the last several years. He started as a grad assistant. He left in 2016 to be the quarterbacks coach in Northern Iowa. He came back and has been the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach in some capacity for the last several seasons. Last season, we didn't expect Kansas State to make the Big 12 championship. He had a big role in helping them do that as the offensive coordinator. Adrian Martinez was more of a running quarterback. Will Howard was more of a passing quarterback. He worked with both, and it's good to know that he could kind of bring two different types of quarterbacks to find success like he did last year. Now, it would be hard to lure him away from his alma mater. Something he probably has a lot of pride in coaching for his alma mater. He only left for 1 year to go to Northern Iowa, but I think we don't know when Chris Kleinman's leaving. This is a job that, as mentioned by guys like Andy Staples, this is a job in the Big Ten, so you can make some money. If you want to bet on yourself and try to see if you can do it, maybe you could be lured. And for Northwestern, a young coach that has shown some promise, you get him before the other bigger schools gobble him up. I think this could be a win-win situation moving forward, just because it doesn't seem like Colin Klein will maybe get that promotion to head coach for a long time. I think Chris Kleinman looks like he's kind of set there to stay. And what other job are you going to get for Colin Klein in the future that could be better than Northwestern? Long term, we don't know. I mean, maybe he gets a Big 12 job in a couple of years. Maybe he gets another Big 10 job that is better. That's something we have to figure out. But if he wants to leave and get his head coaching career started early, he could take the job and get started. Number 5 is Chuck Martin. He's the head coach at Miami, Ohio, posted a 45-59 record in 9 seasons. I think that record is brought down by 2 seasons at the start of his tenure where he was trying to rebuild a program that was in an awful state. They had a long winless streak. Don Treadwell did not leave that program in a very good state, and he's built it back up. Now, they're not the greatest program overall, but he has won a MAC championship and won 4 bowl games, which, coming from where they did come from, that's pretty impressive. So I think he could be a good fit because he's from around the Chicago area. He's also coached around the Midwest. He's coached at Miami, Ohio, so he has some of those recruiting ties in the Midwest, even if they're not recruiting the same players as Northwestern. He also was an assistant at Notre Dame, so he does have maybe some ties formerly to some big high schools, although that was a while ago at this point. So I think he's built a decent program in the MAC. It's not like the best of the best. It's not the worst of the worst, but from where he started, that was really impressive. And when you're going into a Northwestern job where we don't know what's going to happen with this investigation, maybe people leave in the transfer portal. This is a Big Ten that's going to get bigger in a couple of years, but maybe more competitive, that Northwestern will have to kind of scratch and claw for more. Chuck Martin could be a guy who builds him up into a solid program again. Maybe it's not something that works long-term, but it might be worth the shot if they want to hire someone right now. And I think that's kind of the key with this article. These guys are in place to be hired right now because there's an interim coach. Do they want to stick with the interim coach? I don't know. The interim coach just got there, so that means he probably didn't know too much about the hazing, but we're going to find out if there's more investigation into this. Pat Fitzgerald, I think, is probably I already put out a statement saying that he didn't know about it and he disagrees with this firing. So this is a lot to be figured out. But you're going to hire someone right now. I think these 5 candidates are great. We have other candidates who are interested, like Ed Orgeron, the former LSU national championship winning coach, said he would be interested. I don't know if it's a good fit based on the academic requirements, based on how things didn't end the greatest at LSU. But Coach O is a great motivator, gets players to want to run through a brick wall. And he has had some success in some weird situations as interim coaches and some places where maybe the schools wanted to hire someone else. He's still been able to be successful. So something to consider there. Let me know what you think of my list for right now. Again, this list will change in the future. Make sure to list any candidates you think could be in play for the Northwestern job in the comments below. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.